All right, well, welcome everyone to instance and service requests. This is really the heart of Cherwell. This is where you're going to create all the tickets you create and all that good stuff. How you're going to help customers resolve incidents and fulfill service requests. Again, my name's Jordan, if you've forgotten that, or I think I've had everybody in class here at least once. So we're going to do the same thing we've always done with every class. We're going to go through stuff together in Cherwell. Follow along with me. Interrupt me if you have a question, right? Don't wait for me to stop. And these are the kinds of things we're going to cover today. So we're going to talk about how to create all the three different kinds of tickets you can create in Cherwell: incidents, infrastructure incidents, and service requests. We're going to talk about a couple things related to those, which might be new for you. Something called the Priority Matrix, which is related to our SLA, or service level agreement, that we're creating as part of Cherwell. And then we're going to talk about how to work tickets, so how to update them, move the status from active to closed. How to actually link them to different records, email customers through the record, assign tasks to other teams, tickets to other teams. We're going to go through all the tabs at the bottom, all that stuff again. And then at the very end, we're going to actually go to the customer portal, and I'm going to show you a little bit of how that's going to look. It's not exactly perfect now. You're going to see a lot of formatting and stuff that's going to be different when it goes live, but it should give you a sense of what the functionality of the service portal is. So that's what we're going to cover. So to start with, I want to review a couple of these ITIL processes for anybody who doesn't know this, or it's been a while since you've seen this. So incident management is one half of this class, and an incident in ITIL terms is just any kind of interruption to a service. So my printer doesn't work, so some sort of interruption. And the point of incident management is just to resolve that incident as quickly as you can and restore normal service as quickly as you can. A lot of the tickets you create will be incidents of some kind. Most of the rest of the tickets you create will be service requests. And service requests are part of request fulfillment, and the service request is just any other kind of inquiry that a customer makes for an IT service. So in this case, nothing is broken, nothing's wrong, but they need something from us. Service requests might be, could you find me a new room for my training class because the other one that I had is now the class in it, right? Could be a service request. Or it could be, I've got a computer that I have right now that really works and I just want a better one, right? Something like that. So the point of this is really just to control and manage those. There's a ton of different service requests. They're all part of our service catalog, and you'll see them all listed in there when we get into Cherwell. So most of the tickets you create will be one of these two, incidents or requests. Sometimes, some of you might also make a third kind of ticket called an infrastructure incident. And an infrastructure incident is just a particular kind of incident, and it's essentially an incident that affects a part of our tech infrastructure, so an infrastructure CI, or configuration item. So this could be something really minor. It could be servers gone down, for example. That's part of our infrastructure, but nothing's actually been affected by that. We've got 5 backups, and all the services are still working correctly. It could be kind of a medium thing, like a server goes down and one department can't access their shared drive. Or it could be something that was massive, like something we'd put a tech alert out for. Or, we have 3 servers go down and now no one can access email all across campus. All those things could be different kinds of infrastructure incidents or different levels of infrastructure incidents. This picture is from New Zealand, by the way. If anyone doesn't know, it was an earthquake actually caused the track to twist in that way without breaking. It was kind of bizarre, so that's why I picked it. All right, so related to those 3 kinds of tickets are 2 other sorts of new terms. The first one is service level agreement, and this is actually an ITIL term. And a service level agreement, or SLA, you'll hear me abbreviated like that a lot, is just some sort of contract between a service provider and a customer or a group of customers. As a university, we actually have a bunch of SLAs already, but they're as customers with people who provide us services. So we have an SLA like with Oracle, for example, to provide us our HR system and our campus solutions system. With Cherwell, though, we're going to be transitioning to having an SLA as providers. So we'll have an SLA kind of with our customers that we provide things with. And a full SLA includes a lot of the stuff I have up here on the screen. So what services we even offer, what the responsibilities are of each group, how much uptime you're going to have with particular applications, and then also resolution times. If I get an incident in, how long is it going to be before that's resolved? What's the expectation there? And when we go live with our SLA in September, we're really just going to be focusing on this last one, resolution time. And that's really going to be tracked with the second thing here, the priority matrix, this big scary looking chart. No need to memorize this. Okay, this chart is actually in Cherwell right next to where you choose the priority, so you can actually read it, everything I've got up on the screen in the system. But just kind of go through with you up here. So the priority matrix measures two different factors, the impact of an incident and the urgency of the incident. So the impact is kind of the vertical column here on the left-hand side, which ranges from all of campus affected to multiple departments or residence halls to several people or a single department, and then the lowest level, of course, is just one person. Right, so it ranges from that, and then urgency grows horizontally across the top, and that ranges from the most urgent, which is impact or an incident that affects some sort of campus-wide core academic service that we offer. So that would be like enrollment goes down or something like that, right? Or something that affects safety. So we have some sort of safety system in place that's now offline. That would be an urgent 1. To urgency 2, which means it's a significant disruption, but maybe not of a core service. Urgency 3 is it's a disruption, but it's, probably we've got a workaround available for it. And then urgency 4 is technically disruption, but really there's nothing impacted, by that. So if you just follow those, vertical and horizontal columns to whatever square in the center, you'll find the priority of whatever incident you're creating. So all of these different priorities, critical, high, normal, and low, have a resolution time associated with them. So when you have a critical priority P1 ticket, you have to resolve that within 4 hours to meet your SLA. High is 1 day or 8 hours. Normal is 5 days, and low is 10 days. And these are, by the way, business days. So it depends on whatever the operating hours of your particular group is. If it's a low priority and you have 10 days to do it, that's not 10 calendar days. That's 10 business days. It doesn't count weekends. So again, every time you classify an incident, you'll be picking one of these. So let's go ahead and get into Cherwell. Go ahead and open Cherwell up. And again, it's going to ask you what you want to connect to, and just choose the only one that's there and click OK. And then also remember, in order to sign into Cherwell, you'll have to put the prefix ADILSTU / in front of your ULID. And then your password is just your normal password. All right, so we're going to start with just creating incidents from scratch. I'm going to show you kind of how to do each one of these tickets. So to create an incident, the way you're going to do that is go up to the New menu in the top left corner. Click on that drop-down menu, and you'll see the fourth option down says New Incident. You'll also notice right next to that New Incident, it says Control-Shift-I. That's the keyboard shortcut. So if you like keyboard shortcuts like me, you can just click anywhere on your dashboard, hit Control-Shift-I, and that new one will open up. And this ticket here is not yet classified, and you can tell that by looking in the upper left corner where it says Not Yet Classified, the big orange header. So this right now could be an incident, a service request, or an infrastructure incident. To do all of them, you start the same way, New Incident. The first thing you have to put in is the requester. So what I want you guys to do is put in your ULID in the requester field, and then I want you to hit the Tab key on your keyboard. And what should happen is the system should automatically find you and put your information in the requester fields and in the customer fields. Now the other way you can actually pick a requester is you'll notice there's two buttons in the right-hand side of that field. Again, these are the selector buttons, if you've seen these in other fields before. So the leftmost one, if you click on that leftmost one, it looks like a little person. You'll see a search window open up where you can then search for whoever the customer is you're looking for. If you just want to type the person's name in, you can do that instead of their ULID. Whatever you want to type in there, you can. It'll automatically search for whatever you type in there. If it finds a matching record, it'll put the person's information in. If it doesn't find a matching record, it'll open that search window up for you automatically, and then you can search from there. Now you'll notice that this also filled out the customer fields, but there's a difference between requester and customer. So the requester is the person that you should be dealing with when you need information about this ticket or when you're communicating with someone about the ticket. That's the requester. The customer is the person who's actually having the incident. So a lot of times it's the same, which is why it automatically fills it out. But there could be situations like where a secretary is requesting or opening a ticket up for his dean or president, boss, whatever. Right? And in that case, the requester would be the secretary, and then the customer would be the dean or the president or whoever. So if it's different people, you can click on that clear entry link on the right-hand side right next to phone, next to the customer field. That'll wipe all the information out, and then you can put the correct information in there. So that's the idea. Now underneath the customer department field, you'll see a drop-down menu that says Best Contact. If you click on that, you can choose whether they want to be contacted by phone or email. And right underneath that, you'll see something that says Alt Contact Info, alternate contact information. And this is really a free-form field for you to put in whatever you need to put in here about contacts. So if you want to put in another phone number or another email, they have 3, I don't know. There's already alternate email, alternate phone number fields. But if you want to put in just general text like please call between 5 and 6 or after May 16th or whatever it is, you can also put that information there. That's the idea there. All right, to the left of that, if you click on the drop-down menu for contact source for me, you'll see 5. These 5 are all the different ways that tickets can come in to be created. So phone, walk-in, and chat, those you'll be doing manually. The other 2, email and email, you may or may not be doing manually. An email is someone sent you an email. Sometimes it automatically generates a ticket depending on what team you're in. Anyone who sends in a ticket or an email to a certain address, the system will pick up on that and auto-generate an email auto-generate a ticket from that email. And then web is always going to be automatically generated. Web tickets come in when someone goes to the online portal and then requests service or opens an incident that way. So, question, yes?
So will we be able to, if someone emails us to start a ticket, just forward it to
The question is, if someone just emails my personal account, can I forward that on to the main account and have that auto-generate an email? And the answer is yes, but then as you pointed out, it'll have your name probably as the requester, which you'll then can come in and change. But the information from the email will be there. The other option, of course, is just to copy-paste whatever you need from the email into a record. All right, so we're going to leave this as phone. All right, and then you're going to just give a title, basically, and description of this incident. So we're going to do one that's an Outlook error. So just user cannot open Outlook. I'm sure you all have your own, or you may have your own naming conventions for what you do and do not call something in the ticket, so you can continue to use those. And then you just describe in the description field what happens. So user double-clicks shortcut and gets an error message. However much content you need. Now, of course, just like our knowledge class, you'll notice as you type in the description here, the text is very small and plain text. So you can actually click on the magnifying glass button on the right-hand side of the description field to open up the rich text zoom editor, and that'll allow you to highlight your text, change the font to whatever you want. So I'm going to do Sego script. I don't know how to pronounce that. Size 26, whatever. So again, if you haven't been in my knowledge management class, you can do bold, italicize, underline. You can do different alignments, bullet lists and numbered lists here. If you click on the insert menu in the top, the kind of the middle menu there, you can also see you can insert tables, pictures, hyperlinks, different kinds of special characters, all that kind of stuff. So if you need to put like a screenshot or something in your ticket, you can do that. So once you've got your text figured out, just hit OK to enter that information in. All right, then we have a little checkbox underneath that says early life support. The point of this is really to track tickets that come about as a result of a change that this occurs. So if we put some sort of change in the system, like we, put some patch in Campus Solutions, or we just have some new project that launched and we're all using a new application, there's a time period within that, right after that launch, that's called the early life support time. And so it depends on the project how big that is. Like I think when we put out our first Campus Solutions launch, the early life support was like a month long. All right, so you should be informed by whoever if you get these tickets. You can just click on early life support, and that'll just indicate what stage that this actually occurred in. But I'm going to uncheck that. That's not the case here. Then we'll have to classify what kind of ticket it is. So that's finally where you get to the classification is down here at the bottom. So go ahead and choose the first one under record type that says incident. And a bunch of stuff will happen. It'll say incident now in the top left corner in blue. It'll have a bunch more fields now in red that you have to fill out and some more questions underneath those. And then the tabs down at the bottom will change a lot. So as you fill things out on here, the fields that become required will change based on what you select. So the first thing you have to do is classify this ticket according to our service catalog. And what I want everyone to do for me is go up to your View menu in the top left corner, third from the left, click on View, and then I want you to click on Knowledge, the third option down. Again, this is our knowledge pane where you can search for knowledge right from the incident record. And I want you to type in service catalog and search for that. And you should see the first 10 of the total 13 different articles about the service catalog that are already in Cherwell. So when you're going through classifying tickets, if you're not sure which of these service categories, subcategories you should select, you can consult those knowledge articles to learn more information about that. Now in this case, I'm dealing with an email problem. So I'm going to click on my service drop-down menu and choose the fourth option down, email and calendaring. I'm going to close my knowledge pane here so you can see more. All right, then you have to further specify within that service what you're doing. So in this particular case, the category is just going to be email, second option. And because this is an incident, the subcategory will automatically choose submit incident. Every single incident and infrastructure incident that you create will always have a subcategory of submit incident. The only kind of tickets that don't have that subcategory are service requests. Now, as you'll notice down here in the bottom section, the tab called Similar Incidents was automatically selected for you, and it tells you the numbers that are in the system, the one that you just created. And that tab is keying off of the classification that you just picked. There are 32 other incidents currently in the system that are similar to the one you just picked. And so this should be able to show you, like, okay, we have 32 incidents about Outlook. Maybe something's wrong with our Outlook system, right? Now, to the right, you'll see the priority field. If you click on that, this is the same priority matrix that I showed you earlier. So we've got the impact along the left, urgency along the top. If you click on the little question mark button right to the right of that, you'll see the actual slide that I showed with all the text there explaining what this is. So that's always going to be in there for you. So what I want you to do is click on the priority drop-down menu, and in this case, only one person is affected. And there is a workaround available for this because they can always get to their email online, right, in OWA. So I'm going to choose urgency 3, one person affected, so that's normal P3. And we didn't have our primary CI field, so again, this works the same way in every other record type you've seen. This is going to indicate which configuration item in the CMDB this incident is referring to, so what actually broke. So in a lot of cases, this may be something large, like Microsoft Outlook. That's kind of a broad sort of CI. But eventually, it could also be the person's actual machine. Right? So when we go live with phase 2 of the CMDB, we'll have all the endpoints in there. And then you can actually put in their personal computer right here. If this is a ticket related to a printer, you could put the printer in, things like that. So to put that CI in there, again, we have a selector button right here on the right-hand side. You can click on that, and you'll see the search window open up. Now, notice this thing about the search window. By default, notice at the top, there's 2 radio buttons, and it says show config items for user, and then it has my name or your name, depending on which you filled out for the customer. So by default, it's just going to be looking for configuration items that that person owns, and you're going to want to click the first option instead, the one that says show config items for all customers, in order to show the full list of CMDB CIs in the system. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to pick a random one here. Doesn't matter what you choose. DSE mail. So then it's asking you 3 questions. First one is, are you currently off campus or on campus? So this is not you. This is the person, the customer, or the requester. So I'm going to say yes, they're on campus. Is there an error message displayed? In my case, yes, there is. So once I've chosen that, I now have to put in the error message. It becomes a required field. And I'll show you where to do that in a second. But just kind of as an FYI, right? That what you click determines what becomes required. Question 3 is anyone else experiencing the issue? In this case, no. And you may not know for sure if other people are experiencing it or not. I would say default to no. And then if you find out later, you can just switch it to yes. All right, so now that I've entered yes, the error message is displayed. I want you to click on this initial support tab in the bottom arrangement. It's the first tab. And you'll see that there's an error message field that's highlighted in red now. So now you have to put in the error message. So whatever error message you want to put in there, go ahead. Now, we talked about requester and customer. If you look along the left-hand side, you'll also see process actions, which we'll get to in a second, and then owned by. And that should say team right now, whatever it is, should default to that. What I want you to do, if you need to change this team, you can do that. So let's say you're creating the ticket, but you know it should go to X team. You can actually just click on your team name there, and it'll ask you to select the owning team. And so you can either choose it from this drop-down menu, or if you click on this little ellipsis button to the right of the drop-down menu, a new window will open up and you can actually search for it there. So what I want you guys to do is go ahead and choose AT Training as the owning team here. Whoever is the owning team oftentimes will get an email. Kind of depends on, I think, did everyone enable that, Tyler? Almost everyone enabled that. So go ahead and pick AT Training as a team, and then you can also select a person. So if you click on the Select Owner link, and then click on the drop-down menu there, you'll see the 3 people who are a part of the AT Training team listed, and you can select me as the owner. Now if you're assigning it to another team, I would suggest not putting a person in. Just assign it to that team and let them decide who among the team should resolve the incident. Pretty much the only time you're doing this is if the person specifically asks you to, or if you're assigning it to yourself, and then put yourself in there. All right, so just double check for me, make sure it says AT Training and my name is owned by, and that the requester is either your name or my name. And then I want you to just click the Save button, and the Save button's on the top of your toolbar, right next to the right of the New button. Just save this. Right, and there you go. You're done. You just created a ticket. So it's a very similar process when you want to create a service request. So you do the same thing. You're going to come up to your New menu, click on New, and then choose New Incident. Or again, you can use the shortcut Control-Shift-I. So to create a service request, you do exactly the same process. You get a not yet classified ticket, and you put in the requester ULID. So put in my ULID or yours, whichever one works. All right, contact source, I'm going to say walk-in for this one. And then service requests are going to be different, right? So maybe this one is, add a new phone. Okay, so whatever details you need in there in the description field. And then if you click on the record type drop-down menu, and then I want you to select service request. So you'll see what that record looks like. Again, everything changes, right? We got a big lime green header now in the top left corner instead of our blue header for incident. We've got different tabs along the bottom. And we have some changes in kind of the main text here as well in the center section. So again, you have to classify this by service category and subcategory. So this is adding a new phone. So I'm going to click on service and choose phones and fax, fourth from the bottom. Then you have to choose a category. So this is going to be related to a desk phone. And now you do have to pick a subcategory. So it's not going to be submit incident. It's going to be some sort of service request subcategory. And so I'm going to choose the first one, which is add or change standard phone service. Again, there's a bunch there. You can kind of look through the rest of them when you get a chance, but I'm going to choose that one. Now, once you change that, you'll notice something happened down at the bottom in the arrangement. A new tab just showed up, the first tab on the left that says Service Request Details, and it's asking me specific questions about this particular service request. So, would you like to add a new phone, change features on a phone, or remove a phone? In this case, I want to add one, so I'm going to select that radio button, and some more questions will open up. Is this for an individual or shared? If it's for an individual, it's going to ask for the ULID. It's going to say ask what the display name should be. If you scroll down, you're going to see some more questions in there highlighted in red. So again, depending on what you choose, these questions will show up for you and be required for you to answer. Now, if you are creating this yourself, you're going to be the one filling it out. But if the user creates this online, they're going to answer all these questions. So they're going to see exactly the same form, and they'll go through and answer them rather than you. But of course, if you're doing it over the phone or something, you'll have to ask them what to do. All right, so you'll notice, again, in the main content section to the right of all that, the priority field now says not applicable, okay, because we don't have priority matrix for service requests. We do have something called the lead time, which is the same kind of idea. You have to tell us X many days in advance before we can kind of guarantee that we're going to have the service done for you. And that's usually 5 days, depending on what the service is. But there's a checkbox here right above the priority that says requested before standard time. So if you check that, that just indicates to whoever's looking at this ticket that this person has requested it before the 5 days. So the professor says they want this tomorrow. You'd want to put that in the description, okay? And this doesn't enforce anything. It's just informational for you to understand that person requested it. Right, primary CI field is the same, right? You can put in what CI this service request applies to, and then the target date is incorrect right now. This says today's date and time, but this would eventually, or should say, the day 5 days in the future, right? That has that lead time. So that target date is when you need this completed by. All right, the other place you can actually see that, those target dates, this is the case for all tickets, is along the left-hand side, the second kind of section from the bottom says key dates. And you'll see created, modified, open for, and then the target due date. And all those kinds of, that information will be there for you as well. And that's the same for incidents and infrastructure incidents as well. All right, so then the last thing, to create a infrastructure incident ticket, same deal. Control-Shift-I, or go up to your new menu at the top, click on that, and choose New Incident. And you don't have to save this service request. And again, it's the same deal. So, put your or my ULIT in there. And then in this case, since it's an infrastructure incident, this one will be, like widespread Outlook outage. Multiple users report unable to access Outlook. All right, so then the record type we select is not going to be incident or service request. It's going to be the third one, infrastructure incident. And again, once you select infrastructure incident, the header will change. It's now gray, and it says infrastructure. And you're going to see a couple of different options in different tabs. But it's the same sort of deal as an incident, right? So you pick the service, which is going to be email and calendaring. Pick the category, email. Subcategory is going to state submit incident. Priority in this case will be different than our first one, because this one does affect all of campus, and this is a very urgent sort of core business process, so we would choose the highest urgency there and the highest impact, critical P1. You also notice there's a couple check boxes around this priority. So there's one above that says incident impacts customers. So in this case we check that, right, because it does. Of course there may be servers that go down that don't impact customers, so you would leave that blank in that case. And then you have major incident to the right of the priority field. And if you click on that, you'll notice there's now like a orange circle in the upper left corner that says major. And a major incident you can think of as something we put a tech alert out for. Or I think whiteboard is the term in Magic. Okay, so it's kind of the same idea there. So there are like specific widgets on your dashboard that show you how many major incidents are in effect, and you can kind of view those. So the cool thing about infrastructure incidents is that we can use them to link to children. So if you look in your bottom arrangement, you'll see the third tab from the right says Child Incidents. I want you to click on that. All right, and the idea here is, so let's say we have 5 different incidents that come in, all about Outlook. So we got 3 from the registrar's office, 1 from admissions, 1 from financial aid, whatever. We figured out something's gone wrong with Outlook, and all these sorts of things are related. Right? So what we need to do is we need to create an infrastructure incident, because we actually detected a problem with our infrastructure, okay, and something's going wrong. What we can do here is link this infrastructure incident to all of these sub-incidents as children of this infrastructure incident as the parent. And so if you know the old saying, right, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, okay? So if this mother incident is still unresolved, the other ones will also be unresolved. But the inverse is true. Once we resolve this infrastructure incident, this parent incident, these other ones automatically close on their own. So we don't have to go through and manually close all of them together. Now, if we find out that, this is, let's say incident 1 is actually not related to this infrastructure incident, we can break this link and emancipate the incident so that it's resolved on its own. So to do that, you'll notice we've got our child incidents tab. And so if we want to add a child incident to this infrastructure incident record, we can either click on the new incident button here in the left corner, and that'll actually create a brand new incident record just from here. Or if you want to link to one that already exists, click on the little paperclip right next to the new incident button. And you'll notice that it'll open up a search window for you to search for every single incident throughout the system to link here. So you can actually find the incident that you just saved right now, and you can just double click on that incident, and it'll show up right underneath in this child incidents tab. So now once you save this whole infrastructure incident record, that child incident will no longer be directly updated, or the status at least, will no longer be directly updatable. So it'll say something like managed by parent in the status. And so the only way you can actually update it is either by breaking the link or by updating this parent record. If you put one incorrectly there, you just highlight it and make sure it's selected. And then you'll notice to the right of the add button, there's another paperclip with a red X. You just click on that, unlink, and then it'll go away. All right, that's all you really need to know about kind of creating that.
The audio on the original video goes out, so I will be doing the voiceover for the remainder of the video. But now let's talk about the process of working through an actual incident or service request. What are the statuses that are used? So to talk about the statuses, we're going to go ahead and go back to the PowerPoint real fast. All right, so there are several statuses that an incident can be in. The first one would be new. A new incident is any incident that is created by the customer. So the customer either creates the incident through the online portal, or they send an email to one of the email addresses that will auto-generate a ticket. The next status I want to talk about is actually 2 down, and it's pending details. Like new, the only time that pending details will be a status is when the customer is the one that initiates the incident. So this would be the situation where someone goes ahead and looks at a new incident and realizes that they need more information. So they would go ahead and contact the customer and let them know that they needed more information. While the status is in pending details, the SLA clock will be paused. So active will be the status anytime you create an incident in Cherwell or the entire time you are actually working the incident. You'll place a status on hold if you are waiting on something or someone. So maybe you're waiting on a vendor or you're waiting for a part to come in. On hold will not pause the SLA clock. You'll put the status in resolved with workaround if you have came up with a workaround for the incident, but you haven't actually solved the problem. So maybe their printer isn't printing, so you have them printing to a printer down the hallway. That would be resolved with a workaround. So they are able to print at this point, but not to the printer that they usually print to. This status will also pause the SLA clock. Then you have closure pending confirmation, meaning that you believe you've closed the incident and you are waiting to hear that the customer either thinks that the incident has been resolved or they think that there is still an issue. If you hear back from the customer and the customer says, yes, it was resolved, you can immediately put it in closed. If you don't hear back from the customer, after 3 days, it'll go ahead and go into closed. All right, so let me go back into Cherwell and show you how to actually change those statuses. So you'll notice that you can see the status currently at the very top there. The status is currently inactive. You'll also notice that the status is on the left-hand side there where it says infrastructure incident. Under infrastructure incident, it says the current status. And then below the active status, it says process actions. And under process actions, it gives you all the statuses that you can change your record to. In order to actually update it, you'll just click on any one of those statuses. So you can just click on closed pending confirmation and that'll put it into a closed status. I'm going to go ahead and go down to the record type and change the record type to service requests so that we can look at the actual service request statuses. And then let's go to the PowerPoint to look at the statuses there. So you'll notice in the service request statuses, we have new again, and new is the same situation as when we talked about incident. This is anytime the customer has created the service request and no one has had a chance to look at it. You'll notice that pending details is 2 down, and pending details is also the same. This is a situation where the customer has created the ticket and we need more details before we can actually start working on it. In progress, just above pending details, is the same as active in an incident. So the ticket is currently being worked, and this is the status that the ticket will automatically go to when you create a ticket in Cherwell. On hold is also the same situation where you're waiting on somebody or something to actually be able to finish the service request. Pending approval is a situation where you are needing to get approval for the service request. So an example here would be someone needs security to campus solutions. there will be an approval process to approve that person having access to those things in Campus Solutions. The filled pending confirmation is the same as the closed pending confirmation in the incident, and once again, the way the ticket goes to closed is the same as in an incident. And you also change the status the exact same ways with the process actions, where you'll click on whatever process action you'd like to change the status to. So that really wraps up the statuses. Now let's go ahead and talk about the tabs down at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Approvals tab at the far left-hand side. So the way that you will go ahead and initiate an approval is you will click on the New Approval button just below the tab. So when you click on the New Approval button, a couple fields will come up. The first field being, who do you want to actually do the approval? So you can either type in the student or the person's ULID, or you can type in their full name. Whatever, it's going to search the exact same way as the requester and customer fields search for the person. Below the approver name, there's the additional information for approver, so you can type in whatever information you need to provide the approver with so that they can make a fully educated decision. Once you save this, it's going to go ahead and send an email to the approver, and there are going to be two links within the email. There will be a link for approve and a link for deny. So your approver will either approve or deny the approval. Notice that the status did change once we clicked New Approval to Pending Approval, and when we click the Delete button, it'll go back to In Progress. So you can add as many approvers as you need to add by clicking the New Approval button, and you of course can delete any approvals that you need to delete as well by clicking the Delete button. So Tasks is the next tab. A task we talked about in the intro class, but it's essentially asking someone for help. You want to continue to have ownership of this ticket, but you want to ask someone for help. So in order to do that, go ahead and click on the New Task button, and then you'll go ahead and select the team that you need help from. So we'll go ahead and select AT Training. And then if you want, you can select the assignee. Again, we suggest the only time you would select an assignee is if that person is telling you to select specifically them. Otherwise, just leave it as the whole team. So then you'll go ahead and add a title to your task. So just name it, what do you want them to actually do? And then in the description, you'll give the full information about everything that you need them to do. Once you have gone ahead and put in the title and description, you can go ahead and save this, and it will let the person know that you have assigned a task to, that they have a new task. As soon as they find out that they have a new task, they need to come in and do one of two things. They either need to acknowledge that they have a new task assigned to them, or they need to say that they've misassigned. This task has been misassigned. I don't actually do that. And they'll want to tell you who does do whatever task that is assigned. Then after they've gone ahead and completed the task, they'll hit complete or completed, and they can put in any completion details in the completion details box. You can of course add as many tasks as you need, or you can delete them. The next tab is Journal Notes, and this is just like notes within Magic. So you're just making little sticky notes on the record saying what's going on. You'll notice that there is the Visible in Customer Portal checkbox on the side. So if you check that, that'll make it so that whatever note you put here will be visible for the customer if the customer were to check on the ticket status in the Self Portal. The next tab over is the Resolution tab. So you'll need to fill this information in before you say that the ticket is closed. And in the Resolution field is what the customer is actually going to see. So you'll type in whatever you want the customer to know about how you fixed their problem. The Technical Resolution field is for you and your coworkers. So what did you really do? And what information do you need to be able to look up at a later time to know about how to fix this type of problem? We already talked about the Similar Incidents tab, so let's go ahead and move on to the Configuration Items tab. So if you notice, we put in a primary CI, or we didn't in this situation, but we would have put in a primary CI. But maybe there are several configuration items or CIs that go with this ticket. You can put in as many as you need by using the link button under the configuration item tab. Then you have the reason for breach tab. The reason for breach tab is where you'll report why did you breach the SLA or the target due date. Then you have a change request tab. And the change request tab is where you can link any change requests that are in progress that have to do with this service request, or when it's on incidents, it has to do with that incident. So I'll go ahead and just click on one of these change requests to attach it. And the journal history is where it's going to keep track of everything that is done on this ticket. So if anyone comes in and changes one word in the short description, it's going to mark that. If someone comes in and adds a journal note, it's going to have that in the journal history. Then the audit tab has the same fields for every ticket that it'll fill out, and it'll give a really nice snapshot of who created the ticket, who resolved it, when was it created, when was it resolved, so on and so forth. So that's it for the service request tabs. So we're going to go ahead and change the record type to incident and look at the incident tabs the tabs that are in the incidents that are not in service requests. So we talked about the initial support tab here at the front where we put an error message. We talked about the tasks, journal notes, but let's look at workaround. So workaround tab is where you would tell about the workaround that you gave the customer while you were fixing their problem. So I gave the example earlier about a printer. Maybe you would type in that you have their default printer changed to the printer down the hallway. And then you would be asked, must this workaround be removed before you close the ticket? And if you've changed their default printer, or if you've loaned them a piece of equipment or something like that, you're going to say yes. Yes, you need to get that piece of equipment back, or you need to change their default printer back again, something like that. When you say yes, another field's going to come up and it's going to say, have you removed this workaround? And there's really only one answer to this. You are not allowed to close the ticket till you have removed the workaround, so you'll have to say yes. You'll notice on the resolution field, or the resolution tab, that the resolution and technical resolution are still there, but now there is this workaround removed. So it wants to know if you've removed the workaround. We've talked about similar incidents, configuration items, change requests. Here we have the parent incident that goes with the child incident. So you'll notice that you can link any parent incident to a child from this tab using the same link button. And you see all of the infrastructure incidents listed when you click the link button. And again, we've already covered the journal history and audit tabs. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and go back to the PowerPoint to talk about when a customer receives an email. So a customer would receive an email for a couple different things. One, when their incident or service request is created, they'll receive an email if the status changes to either pending details, so we need more information from them, or closed or fulfilled, depending if it's a service request or an incident. So they'll be notified when we've resolved their issue. If they are approving, they'll also receive an email for the approval. Now let's talk about when you're going to receive an email. So you're going to receive an email in the following situations for a high priority ticket. So a ticket that has 4 or 8 hours for its SLA. A ticket that is nearing breaching its SLA. If it's within 4 hours of the SLA, you'll receive an email. You'll also receive an email for new VIP tickets. So there are several customers across campus that have been identified as VIPs. And if those customers open a ticket, then you'll receive an email. This doesn't mean that their ticket is going to be handled any faster, but you will receive an email. If you're assigned a new task, you'll also receive an email. And then finally, the last reason will be any reason that your team has specified. So each team has, really chose to make their own customizations as to when they'll receive emails. So you might receive an email when you have a new ticket assigned to you. It'll just depend on what your team chose. The other way you can send an email, let's go back to Cherwell, is by using the record actions. So you'll see that there is email customer, and when you click on email customer, an email is going to come up. And it's going to say it's from ithelp@ilstu.edu, and it's going to make the email out to the requester. They'll fill in the requester's email address, and they'll put in the requester's first name, and then you'll actually put the information that you want to put in the update area. And notice that you can attach an item to the ticket. You can attach current history. So you have a couple different options here within this email. And finally, let's talk about the customer portal. So the current web address for the customer portal is isu.cherwellondemand.com/Cherwell. In the future, the web address will be ithelp.illinoisstate.edu. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the Cherwell customer portal, and you'll notice that this isn't complete. This isn't a final finished product, but will give you an idea of what the customers will see when they go to the customer portal. When a customer logs in, they'll log in with just their ULID and password, and then they'll go ahead and click sign in. So again, this is not actually what the customer is going to see when they log in. There's still going to be some changes that are made, but when they log in, they'll be able to report an incident, or issue is the word that we use for the customers, make a request, search knowledge articles, see any open issues or open incidents that they have going, any open requests, and then they'll also be able to see any closed records that they have. So in order to report an issue, they'll just click on report an issue. They'll decide, what they're actually having an issue with. So I'm going to say ISU computer and equipment is what I'm having an issue with. And then it's asking me what specific piece of equipment. And I'll say my ISU desktop. You'll see that the customer already has a short description filled in, and then they can fill in a full description with additional comments if they'd like. I'm going to go ahead and go back home, and I'll show you how to do a service request. So I'm going to click on make a request, and maybe I wanted to make the same request with the phone. So I'll go ahead and click on phones and fax. And then I would be able to click on what I want to do with phones and fax. So I'll say add or change standard phone service. And you'll notice these are the exact same questions that I looked at when I was in the actual Cherwell. So that concludes the incident management and service request training. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to email attraining@ilstu.edu.